Chapter 3, in which a search is organized and Piglet nearly meets the Hufflepuff again. Pooh was sitting in his house one day counting his pots of honey, and there came a knock on the door. 14, said Pooh, come in. 14, or was it 15? Bother, that's muddled me. And then, what was it? My pots of honey. What I was counting, 14, that's right. Are you sure? No, said Rabbit. Does it matter? I just like to know, said Pooh humbly, so I can say to myself, I've got 14 pots of honey left, or 15, as the case may be. It's all sort of comforting. Well, let's call it 16, said Rabbit. What I came to say was, have you seen Small anywhere about? I don't think so, said Pooh. And then after thinking a little more, he said, who's Small? One of my friends and relations, said Rabbit carelessly. This didn't help Pooh much, because Rabbit had so many friends and relations, and of such a different sort and size, that he didn't know whether he ought to be looking for Small at the top of an oak tree or in the puddle of a buttercup. I haven't seen anybody today, said Pooh. Not so as to say, hello, Small, too. Did you want him for anything? I don't want him, said Rabbit, but it's always useful to know where a friend or relation is, whether you want him or whether you don't. Oh, I see, said Pooh. Is he lost? Well, said Rabbit, nobody's seen him for a long time. So I suppose he is. Anyhow, he went on importantly, I promised Christopher Robin that I'd organize a search for him, so come on. Pooh said goodbye affectionately to his 14 pots of honey and hoped they were 15, and he and Rabbit went off to the forest. Now, said Rabbit, this is a search and I've organized it. Done what to it, said Pooh. Organized it, which means, well, it's what you do to a search when you don't look in all the places at once. So I want you, Pooh, to search the 6 pine trees first, and then work your way towards Owl's house and look out for me from there. Do you see? No, said Pooh. What? Then I'll see you at Owl's house in about an hour's time. Is Piglet organized too? We all are, said Rabbit, and off he went. As soon as Rabbit was out of sight, Pooh remembered that he had forgotten to ask who Small was, and whether he was the sort of friend or relation who settled on one's nose or sort of got trodden on by mistake. And was it too late now? He thought he would begin the hunt by looking for Piglet and asking him what they were looking for before he went and looked for it. And it's no good looking at the 6 pine trees for Piglet, said Pooh to himself, because he'd been organized in a special place of his own. So I shall have to look for the special place first. I wonder where it is. And he wrote this down in his head like this. Order of looking for things. First, special place, to find Piglet. 2, Piglet, to find who Small is. 3, Small, to find Small. 4, Rabbit, to tell him I found Small, and Small again to tell him I found Rabbit. Which makes it look like a bothering sort of day, thought Pooh as he stumbled along. The next moment the day became very bothering indeed. Because of Pooh, he was so busy not looking where he was going that he stepped on a piece of forest which had been left out by mistake, and he only just had time to think to himself, I'm flying, what Owl does. Oh, I wonder how you stop. And he stopped. Bump. Ow! Squeaked something. That's funny, thought Pooh. I said ow without really owling. Help, said a small high voice. That's me again, thought Pooh. I've had an accident and I've fallen down a well, and my voice has gone all squeaky and works before I'm ready for it because I've done something to myself inside. Bother! Help! Help! There you are, I say when I'm not trying. So it must be a very bad accident. And then he thought that perhaps he did try to say things he wouldn't be able to. So to make sure, he said very loudly, "A very bad accident to Pooh Bear." "Pooh," squeaked the voice. "It's Piglet," cried Pooh eagerly. "Where are you?" "Underneath," said Piglet, in an underneath sort of way. "Underneath what?" "You," squeaked Piglet. "Get up." "Oh," said Pooh, scrambled up as quickly as he could. "Did I fall on you, Piglet?" "You fell on me," said Piglet, feeling himself all over. "I didn't mean to," said Pooh sorrowfully. "I didn't mean to be underneath," said Piglet sadly. "But I'm all right now, Pooh, and I'm so glad it was you." "What happened?" said Pooh. "Where are we?" "I think we're in a sort of pit. I was walking along looking for somebody, and then suddenly I wasn't anymore, and just when I got up to see where I was, something fell on me, and it was you." "So it was," said Pooh. "Yes," said Piglet. "Pooh," he went on nervously, and he came a little closer. Do you think we're in a trap?" Pooh hadn't thought about it at all, but now he nodded. For suddenly he remembered how he and Piglet had once made a Pooh trap for the Heffalumps, and he guessed what had happened. He and Piglet had fallen into a Heffalump trap for Poohs, and that's what it was. "What happens when the Heffalump comes?" said Piglet tremblingly when he heard the news. "Perhaps he won't notice you, Piglet," said Pooh encouragingly, "because you're a very small animal." "But he'll notice you, Pooh. He'll notice me, and I will notice him," said Pooh, thinking it out. "We'll notice each other for a long time, and he'll say, 'Ho, ho!'" Piglet shivered a little at the thought of the ho, ho in his ears, and they began to twitch. "What will you say?" he asked. Pooh tried to think of something he would say, but the more he thought, the more he felt there really is no answer to ho, ho, said by a Heffalump in the sort of voice that Heffalump was going to say it in. "I shan't say anything," said Pooh at last. "I shall just hum to myself as if I were waiting for something." "Then perhaps he'll say ho, ho again," suggested Piglet anxiously. "Oh, he will," said Pooh. Piglet's ears twitched so quickly that he had to lean against them on the side of the trap to keep them quiet. "He will say it again," said Pooh, "and I shall go on humming, and that will upset him, because when you say ho, ho twice, in a gloating sort of way, and the other person only hums, you suddenly find, just as you begin to say it a third time, that, well, you find what?" "That isn't it," said Pooh. "Isn't what?" Pooh knew what he meant, but being a bear of very little brain, couldn't think of the words. "Well, it just isn't," he said again. "You mean it isn't ho-ho-ish anymore?" said Piglet hopefully. Pooh looked at him admiringly and said that was what he meant. If you went on humming all the time, because you couldn't go on saying ho ho forever. "But he'll say something else," said Piglet. "That's just it. He'll say, 'What's all this?' And then I shall say, and this is a very good idea, Piglet, which I've just thought of, I shall say, 'It's a trap for a Heffalump which I've made, and I'm waiting for the Heffalump to fall in.' And I shall go on humming, and that will unsettle him." "Pooh!" cried Piglet, and now it was his turn to be the admiring one. "You saved us." "Have I?" said Pooh, not feeling quite sure. But Piglet was quite sure, and his mind ran on, and he saw Pooh and the Heffalump talking to each other, and he thought suddenly, a little sadly, that it would have been rather nice if it had been Piglet and the Heffalump talking so grandly to each other, and not Pooh, much as he loved Pooh, because he really had more brain than Pooh, and the conversation would go better if he and not Pooh were on the talking side of it. And it would be comforting afterwards in the evenings to look back on the day when he answered a Heffalump back as bravely as if the Heffalump wasn't there. It seemed so easy now, and he knew just what he would say. Heffalump gloatingly, "Ho, ho!" Piglet, Tra-la-la, tra-la-la. Huffalump, surprised and not quite sure of himself. Ho, ho. Piglet, more carelessly still. Tiddly-dum, tiddly-dum. Huffalump, beginning to say ho, ho, and turning it in awkwardly into a cough. What's all this? Piglet, surprised. Oh, you know, it's a trap I've made. I'm waiting for a Heffalump to fall into it. Heffalump, greatly disappointed. After a long silence, are you sure? Piglet, yes. Huffalump, oh, nervously, I thought it was a trap I'd made to catch some piglets. Piglet, surprised. Oh, no. Huffalump, oh, apologetically, I must have gotten it wrong then. I'm afraid so. Politely, I'm sorry, Piglet said. He goes on humming. Heffalump, well, I suppose I better be getting back. Piglet, looking up currently. Must you? If we see Christopher Robin anywhere, you might tell him I want him. Heffalump, eager to please. Certainly, certainly, he hurries off. Pooh, who wasn't going to be there, but we find we can't do without him. Oh, Piglet, how brave and clever you are. Piglet modestly, oh, not at all, Pooh. And then when Christopher Robin comes, Pooh can tell him all about it. While Piglet was dreaming of this happy dream and Pooh was wondering again whether it was 14 or 15, the search for Small was still going on all over the forest. Small's real name was Very Small Beetle, but he was called Small for short when he was spoken to at all, which hardly ever happened, except when somebody said, really small? He had been staying with Christopher Robin for a few seconds, and he started around a gorse bush for exercise. That's a gorse bush. They're kind of sticky. But instead of coming back the other way as expected, he hadn't. So nobody knew where he was. I expect he's just gone home, said Christopher Robin to Rabbit. Did he say goodbye and thank you for a nice time, said Rabbit. He'd only just said, how do you do, said Robin. Ha, said Rabbit. After thinking a little, he went on. He has written a letter saying how much he enjoyed himself and how sorry he was that he had to go so suddenly. Did he do that? Christopher Robin didn't think he had. Ha, said Rabbit again, and looked very important. This is serious. He's lost. We must begin the search at once. Christopher Robin, who was thinking of something else, said, where's Pooh? But Rabbit had gone, so he went into his house and drew a picture of Pooh going on a long walk at about 7 o'clock in the morning. And then he climbed to the top of his tree and climbed down again, and he wondered. He wondered, and he wondered. He wondered what Pooh was doing, and he went across the forest to see. It was not long before he came to the grand gravel pit. He came to it and he looked down where Pooh and Piglet were, with their backs to him, dreaming happily. Ho, ho, said Christopher Robin loudly and suddenly. Piglet jumped 6 inches in the air with surprise and anxiety, but Pooh went on dreaming. It's a heffalump, thought Piglet nervously. Now then, he hummed his little throat a little so that none of the words should stick. And then, in a most delightfully easy way, he said, tra-la-la-la-la, as if he had just thought of it. But he didn't look around, because if you look around and see a very fierce heffalump looking down at you, sometimes you forget what you were going to say. Rum-tum-tum, tiddly-tum, tiddly-tum. And said Christopher Robin in a voice like Pooh's, because Pooh had once invented a song which went tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum-tum, tiddle-tum. So whenever Christopher Robin sings, he always sings it in a Pooh voice, which seemed to suit it better. He said the wrong thing, thought Piglet anxiously. He ought to have said, ho, ho, again. Perhaps I better say it for him. And as fiercely as he could, Piglet said, ho, ho. "How did you get in there, Piglet?" said Christopher Robin in his ordinary voice. "This is terrible," thought Piglet. "First he talks in Pooh's voice, and then he talks in Christopher Robin's voice. He's doing it to unsettle me." And now, being completely unsettled, he said very quickly and squeakily, "This is my trap for Pooh's, and I'm waiting to fall into it. Ho, ho! That's what when I say ho, ho again." "What?" said Christopher Robin. "A trap for ho-hos," said Piglet huskily. "I've just made it, and I'm waiting for the ho-ho to come along." How long Piglet would have gone on like this, I don't know. But at that moment, Pooh woke up suddenly and decided that it was 16. So he got up and he turned his head so as to soothe himself in that awkward place in the middle of the back where something was tickling him. He saw Christopher Robin. "Hello," he shouted joyfully. "Hello, Pooh." Piglet looked up and looked away again. He felt so foolish and uncomfortable that he decided to run away to sea and to be a sailor, when suddenly he saw something. "Pooh," he cried, "there's something climbing on your back." "I thought there was," said Pooh. "It's small," cried Piglet. "Oh, that's who it is," said Pooh. "Christopher Robin, I've found Small," said Piglet. "Well done, Piglet," said Christopher Robin. And at these encouraging words, Piglet felt quite happy again and decided not to be a sailor after all. So when Christopher Robin had helped them out of the gravel pit, they all went off together hand in hand. And 2 days later, Rabbit happened to meet Eeyore in the forest. "Hello, Eeyore," he said. "What are you looking for?" "Small, of course," said Eeyore. "Haven't you any brain?" "Oh, but I didn't tell you," said Rabbit. "Small was found 2 days ago." There was a moment's silence. "Ha, ha," said Eeyore bitterly. "Merriment and whatnot. Don't apologize. It's just what would happen." And that's the end of chapter 3.